Volumes will be low. छुट्टी है.
I think till March, May
People were on
9th.
छुट्टी
जनरल भी
yesterday.
वॉल्यूम्स लो है ना आजकल. इन जनरल भी वॉल्यूम्स.
हाँ तो स्पेकुलेशन नहीं है ना, मतलब कहाँ से देयर इज नथिंग, पीपल डोंट वांट टू टेक अ पोजीशन एंड देन यू नो
get killed in case.
yeah, I mean
India
it's
fight Pakistan.
yeah no it's very, so yeah, we are live actually.
Perfect.
Yes, market is flat. Means
Fourth straight session.
third or fourth,
Fourth straight session.
Monday Tuesday, Monday थोड़ा सा गिरा था मेरे ख्याल से, Tuesday Wednesday तो it was flat and today also is flat. And I think we're going to end like this only, and it's going to end flat because people are not willing to take this you know any open
Sensibly
position.
so, no? Sensibly
Yeah,
so.
it's you know, but you know what is surprising is the institutions are making good money. Means on
Your last week FIDI's total was I think 7,500 crores.
not
I
only
mean,
that, if you
individually.
look at the gross numbers which came in on Wednesday, 25,000 crores of buy and 25,000 crores of sell for FIS. On a net basis 50 crore का net buy है, but it was something which is there, and even the mutual funds were around 17,000 or 1,500 odd crores, they were net buys. So institutions are buying, the retail is absent, the HNI is absent, the arbitrageurs are absent, and that's why the volumes are little low. And this market seems to become little shallow in that sense because it's no volume नहीं है.
With retailers, Sajeet, the problem is there is fear of war.
See,
And
so
that is what is keeping them on the sidelines. They want to sit on cash.
It's not just fear of an escalation of conflict. I wouldn't say use the word war,
Okay.
but I would say that there's a escalation of conflict which is done. For the first time, actually, if you see, you have every political party across spectrum, you know, behind the government saying that we need a decisive thing this time, which is there. And the time, and if you look at what has happened is that last week, I think Tuesday, Wednesday, when the Prime Minister met with the you know, defense forces, has given a free hand to them to, and the timing for them to do. India has also closed the airspace for Pakistani aircraft to fly
Correct.
over, and it is, and there is visible tension on the border. In what shape it takes place and how it precipitates, it's something which is you know, very difficult to, you know, articulate at this point in time. But whenever the decision comes in and whenever it is, we will, and whatever is available, we'll do it. But at this point in time, I think the street is aware that a decision on this is imminent. So does Pakistan is aware of it. I think last week or Tuesday, Wednesday, they did a press conference at 1 o'clock in the night. You know, saying that in next 24 to 36 hours something is imminent. They called a press conference 1 o'clock, which would be what, 2 o'clock India time or something. You know, 2:30 India time they called. So there is a visible tension which is there. While we are going around doing normal things, so markets are just wait and watch. They are saying that okay, we are not in a hurry. They're trying to observe the earnings. The earnings have been mixed, right?
Correct. I mean, there's no particular trend which is emerging in one particular direction.
Yeah.
So
And
very
banking has been
mixed.
also mixed in that sense.
Has been mixed. The smaller ones haven't delivered as well. The larger ones, people are happy
Yeah.
about.
And
Slightly.
if you see from a technical perspective, also in terms of banks, last couple of trading sessions, it's been a 2,000 point range, right? Now there is some signs of weakness and fatigue which has started to come in terms of bank Nifty as well. So I think key levels, if it's able to surpass, then probably a fresh rally that could come in terms of bank Nifty. But otherwise, you are seeing that range bound trade Nifty. On Wednesday, I think it was a 100-point range throughout the day, right?
Yeah.
So from a technical perspective, also the strategy which people are using right now, Sajeet, is you buy at support and sell at resistance. That's the game which everyone is using, even from a stock-specific perspective.
By the way, guys, like and subscribe. If we hit 50 early, we can take up many questions actually.
I agree with you.
Yeah.
So,
That's something.
Please hit like. It means a lot to us. So
Yeah.
if you like what we're doing, please hit like. And you know, yes, it's range bound. We've had 2-3 days where markets have done nothing, but that is the sensibility, right? Given the way in which we rallied also. We've done so well over the last couple of weeks. And I just want to kind of flag that we had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 straight sessions of gains before what we're seeing in terms of a bit of a pause, a wait and watch, where for 2 consecutive days on 11th and 15th April, markets were up 2% each. Even on the 17th was up 1.5+%. On 21st also up 1% plus. So we've seen good traction on all of those days. But the big positive here is FIs are making a bit of a comeback, and that trend seems to sustain, which is
and the second thing is, if you look at the domestic institutions, the first 10 days is when you get a lot of inflows coming into those right.
SIP.
So SIPs and others which are coming in, and we are seeing, and that money will is not stopping at this point in time, and that will come in. So institutionally, it's well liquidated in that sense. The only thing which is there is that the retail is not willing to take a bet, because it can go either ways, and it's a big loss either ways for them. So if you look at the options, 24,500 is something where the call option has been very active. On Wednesday we saw 24,800 also being very active, which is there. So the band which is there playing around is 24,000 to 24,500. If that 24,500 get breached, then you have the next one at 24,600 and 24,800, which is there. So there is an upside there. FIs are taking long Nifty positions, net long for last 3 days, and if you look at the ratio, now 47% is in a long position, which is there, which from what we beginning of last series 28, now it has gone to 47. So it's going up. So there's a momentum build up towards that. Except the fact is that you don't have that convection buying which is there. So that's what is preventing. So that's why we are seeing a range bound trade which is happening.
Guys, please hit like, and along with it, send us your questions. We'd love to start taking questions, and if not, then we'll have to keep having conversation. So we'll try to keep doing that.
Yeah, producers doesn't share questions with us unless he sees the likes.
Yeah, I mean, otherwise
it's Mridul which is there. So
we'll just keep speaking.
Yeah, we can.
We can keep talking, but I mean, so the other piece is with regard to within the banking pack, with regard to IndusInd, there's just been plenty of development. Rajiv Anand linked. There's also some.
So Rajiv Anand is now.
Yeah, but there are some sources. I mean, and very strongly linked, because some media houses coming out and putting out that Rajiv Anand will take over, and if he takes over, it will be a big one. But basis whatever my conversations have been with people, looks unlikely that Rajiv Anand will come. At least that is second order sources telling me that they've spoken to Rajiv, and doesn't seem like it's happening. So
because he came out with a tweet, right, that he's hanging boots in August or something, or he's already done it.
I haven't checked his tweets.
Yeah, saying that he's retiring after 30 years of service
Yeah.
with
but
Access,
what's
right?
With IndusInd is more than any of this is, in spite of all the troubles, it was the top performing gainer in terms of April. So,
and why not, right?
And then double-digit gains on
IndusInd
but
why not?
But then the point is that the overhangs are going out, right? I mean, in the sense,
correct.
all the negatives are one by one.
People there was no clarification or 100% confirmation as to what was wrong, right? Till the last report came in from the external auditors, etc. But still, that kind of confidence for people to have in the performance and in the stock is really good to hear, because a lot of times, because of these kind of overhangs, you see stocks which are beaten down, and then slowly, steadily, it takes some time to recoup. I was very surprised to see that IndusInd was the top gainer on Nifty 50 in terms of April.
No, I wouldn't be surprised, Hiral, and I'll tell you why. Even at 900, prior to this entire saga playing out, at 900, 950, that was the band in which the stock was trading. It went up to 1080, came back down to 950. It was trading at one-time price to book, without any of these concerns or issues with regard to corporate governance. I'm talking pre-corporate governance issues. It was trading at one-time price to book. Post it, the stock lost 20,000 crore in terms of market cap. just because of this 2,000 crore net worth hit. So that kind of signified that if the issue was contained to just about 1,500 crores in net worth, then this was a bit of an overreaction. Now we know it's clearly not 1,500 crore. It's this other portfolio, microfinance portfolio. It's some 2-3 issues hurting. But the kind of re-rating on a one-time price to book, on a Nifty 50 bank, on a one-time price to book, you have 20,000 crore of hit. And therefore, it doesn't surprise me as much.
Can I ask you a question?
Please, sir. I know you have always been bearish in doesn't.
I'm not bearish.
I'm sitting on the other side of the bench.
No. I'm not bearish. I'm saying, does it deserve to be in the Nifty?
I was going to come to that as well.
So, sir, that's a different question. Which
does it? Does a bank?
But that's not what I'm getting to. I'm saying currently it's sitting in the Nifty.
Would you like it to be part of the Nifty?
No, it doesn't deserve to be because of everything that's played out. If I mean, I have no power and no say.
If I was the regulator,
if I was part of that committee which decides the Nifty 50 stocks, this would certainly be a big concern because any stock with a corporate
there's a governance issue should not be part of the Nifty.
Stock should not be part of the Nifty 50 because it drags passive investors along with and that's not okay.
Yeah.
So who do you think should replace an indecent bank on a Nifty 50?
It need not be from the financial services sector.
Let's
but
make
it
it
will
like
be
that.
that.
If it
Why should it be?
So Sajeet, if it has to be a bank, which one should replace it? And according to you, if it's not a bank, which one should?
I was thinking before the index reject that happened. Index reject that happened a couple of months back. I thought index would go out and Jio will come in its place. But index did not go out.
You had told me this.
Yeah, I told you this, right? But it did not go out. I think that was an error on the part of the index committee not to do that. I mean, it is important that, of course, there's no, I'm not putting anything on that. But point is that it is dragging the valuation, and as you said, there are passive investors who are in this, who are getting dragged down because of a governance issue in a company. And why should that company with a governance issue be part of a benchmark index? Simple as that.
Okay, so agreed, point taken. But who do you think should probably replace a indecent if it has to go out of Nifty 50 from the financials?
So there aren't too many banks.
Why should it be from financial? Okay, let me ask you this.
Okay, we know the weightage that Bank Nifty has.
Okay. So I'm not talking Bank Nifty, we're talking Nifty here, right?
No, so even on Nifty, right, the weightage that banking stocks have, let's put it that way, if you have to maintain that weightage.
Why do you have to maintain that weightage?
There's no necessity.
So that's why she's saying.
I'm saying if you have to. आप
बताओ कोई stock बताओ जो outside of banking
space है, and Hersh will tell us.
She's putting me in a spot with regard to banking. And I'm trying to buy you time so that you can pick a stock from the outside universe, right?
So who from the outside?
Why not?
So let's take both scenarios.
The outside universe एक ही है, Nifty 50, next 50. वहीं से आप ऊपर जा सकते हो, राइट?
करेक्ट.
तो कौन आएगा उसमें से? आ सकता है.
चलो तुम बताओ इसके बारे में, मैं तब तक बताता हूँ.
तो मैं भी ढूंढ के बताता हूँ. Even I have not looked at the Nifty next 50 of late.
But there is a Bank of Baroda which is there.
Yes. So within PSUs, there's a Bank of Baroda, a Can Bank. There are these 2-3 banks which are really lining up well.
Representation that they have in terms of Nifty 50
there's
is
an
also
Avenue
minuscule,
Supermart,
right?
which, okay, this liquidity issue which is there, but still part of Nifty next 50 which is there. ICICI Pru is there, Interglobe is there,
Not Interglobe. I think why an Interglobe, Sajeet?
Why not?
Market leader in terms of domestic, but
and no representation of travel in a big fashion on the index, right?
So how much would it even
You might want to play travel on the index.
What about infra company? Ambuja is there,
Probably.
I'm just saying
they were a part at some point in time,
so
right?
Look at the companies which have a market cap of more than IndusInd on a free float basis. All of them may be eligible for that.
Yeah. And within the private banks, unfortunately for whatever reason,
get a PSU bank.
Yeah, PSU bank I think would be a great candidate taking into
but
consideration
outside of that also
the representation.
Correct. But outside of that also maybe a federal bank could well be one candidate.
But federal bank is not part of next 50.
It's not part of next 50, but I'm saying within private banks is the only bank I can think of I can't think of too many private banks which.
See, the fact
which
is
make
that
the
in
cut.
the sense weight within the Nifty is very negligible today,
Yeah,
right?
100%.
So
that.
you need to get someone which has a higher free float, higher volume, and higher market cap in that sense.
So PSU banks go out of the basket in that
the
because
PSP Bank of Baroda
free
में
float तो नहीं है sir.
फ्री फ्लोट
Free
बैंक ऑफ
float तो
बड़ौदा का
कम
तो
है.
होगा,
कम होगा मेरे
ठीक है, तो
हिसाब
फिर
से.
कोई और होगा. मतलब पॉइंट इज दैट कि you need to increase the weight
For
of
whatever
that.
reason my internet's
Yeah.
not working. But anyway,
हाँ.
So ठीक है, so ऐसा है. But yeah, I mean, so Bob, Can Bank, these are all good options. Free float में they are a little less, I'm sure.
But you know what is surprising for me is the auto numbers which has come in.
Interesting
Set of numbers. Half the companies have okay numbers and others steady numbers, and others have been disappointing. Eicher, Tata Motors.
You know what's
disappointing.
catching my eye right
Hero
now
Motocorp
is
has been disappointing, which for me.
Very disappointing.
But you know what's catching my eye is that tussle between three of them to take the number 2 position right now: Tata Motors, M&M, and Hyundai.
M&M is already number 2 for FY25.
Yeah, correct. And that tussle has continued right now, right? And the way the M&M numbers have panned out, that's the only one between these three who has seen a growth, double-digit growth.
Correct.
Hyundai and Tamo have seen a degrowth.
Degrowth.
In
Domestic
But on a high base. Let's be honest. At
Let's
least
be-
for Tamo, it's a high base.
But
दो
overall,
साल से बहुत बढ़िया
absolute,
किया
correct.
है.
But absolute numbers also, Hersh, then M&M is still on number 2 right now.
Yeah, but Tamo has been hit by heavy commercial vehicles and medium commercial vehicles,
Probably,
right?
possible.
So that's the CV's number which
whatever
is
it
hitting.
And M&M is getting a tailwind from tractor as well.
Tractors.
So that's the
But
other reason.
in the end, you're
EV
still
plus
talking
tractor.
about
Fair point,
yeah.
fair point. Yeah. So numbers wise, I 100% agree.
SUV
I'm
wise,
just trying to
yeah.
rationalize it.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm trying to get to
Hero has been bad numbers, and I'm not able to put my head around it, saying why it's got such a bad number.
the stock price is up.
Yeah, but
When I'd seen in the morning at least.
Yeah, Puneet was also asking me कि हो क्या रहा है, means either there is so much of inventory levels there and they are not sending, because they said कि 2 या 3 दिन के 3 days का factory shutdown था, पर 3 दिन के factory shutdown में
इतना impact
30
नहीं
plus
हो
का
सकता है.
30% का impact नहीं हो सकता है, तो which
And I
basically
think
means
this
the
is
pipeline issue है.
pipeline, or maybe what you'll have to do is figure out the segmental in terms of which segment is taking a hit, which they don't really report to that extent, but the segmental.
But I think Siam numbers, when it comes, it will have all that,
because
na?
the segmental is what you will have to see over here, Sajeet, because a lot of EV is taking market share. So is it at these entry level models which is taking a hit, or what segment is going to be interesting? But inventory issues Hyundai mein hua hai. That's where the hit is on a Hyundai. So that is going to be concerning from here on. And M&M is a one-way street, I think, if I'm not mistaken. Scorpio XUV 700. These two are the ones who've actually
Plus, I think
lapped up.
some tailwind coming from the EV side, right? So
Yes,
which
some
is there.
tailwinds from the EV side, but bulk of it coming in right now from these two models.
There's also Thar, Rox.
Yes.
It's not taken off, but all of it adds up, right?
So we
And
have
new launches.
We have a question for Hersh from Mirza Akram Beg. He's asking a comparison between AU Bank and Axis Bank. I know the size differential is huge, yet Axis trading at 2 times price to book TTM, whereas AU is trading 3 times price to book. So should one look at higher growth in AU or value in Axis? Good question, actually.
It's a very good question. It's frankly difficult to call because AU has its set of asset quality issues. It's a fast growing bank, but you have to also consider the margin pressure that it sees versus an Axis, the kind of asset quality issues that it sees versus an Axis. If within banks only you really want to take a pick, the way I would look at it is look at ROA and look at price to book as two factors that you want to play with. Try and find banks with decent growth and ROA above price to book if you can. And if you were to take that, neither Axis, neither AU will feature because AU's ROA, at least for FY26, is expected to be 1.8 times. Axis at best has done 1.8 times in FY25, unlikely to do that in FY26. And therefore, likely neither will fully feature. AU has commanded, that being said, its 5-year average valuation is 4 times. And therefore, it has commanded a higher valuation on the base that it has, which is small. And Axis in general has traded around 1.7, 1.8 times. So Axis largely trading at its 5-year average. AU has traded at a premium in the past, currently trading at least a 25 to 30% discount. And on that count, AU might feature. But if one were to look at the larger universe of banks, there are plenty of those available at below the price to book versus the ROA at which they are looking in terms of profitability for FY26. So maybe something that you want to look at outside of this AU Axis argument. It's a great argument, and AU only for the reason that it trades at a substantial discount to 5-year price to book.
Hiral, do you have any views on Aeroflex? Matish Dosani has a question on Aeroflex Industries,
So-
PGEL, Shakti Pumps, BLS International. BLS is a Visa one, right? Yeah, Visa one.
In fact, there should be a tailwind to some extent to BLS right now, taking into consideration the way visa prices have gone up. So I'm sure there could be some bit of margin expansion that could be coming in for a BLS in the coming quarters. Because lately, majority of them, I mean, specifically European visas and US visas,
And the prices have gone up,
they've
right?
gone up, and how. So I think that could probably be
Aeroflex?
a tailwind. Aeroflex, my view overall is that the numbers in the last few months that you've seen, quarters, have been okay, but I think the valuation is a concern with Aeroflex. I think 40-50% is the kind of up move we've already seen in the stock price, and industry average for their industry is about 15 to 20 times kind of a multiple. Aeroflex, if I'm not mistaken, is somewhere beyond that 35, 40, 50 times. So I think I don't see value from a valuation perspective to buy the stock at current levels. I think if something happens in terms of a correction, it could be a buy on dips kind of a strategy for a Aeroflex, purely taking valuations into consideration, because I mean, it doesn't deserve that kind of a valuation according to me.
Yeah, but I think a couple of weeks back, Ashish Kacholia have bought in some shares into it. So but that should not be one of the reasons why you should be buying it.
But yeah.
You should do your own research, because he may have his own targets and average pricing which he has done for his portfolio. But you should look at your own portfolio and the and the research which you should be doing before you get into any of those shares.
Yeah. Because there could be very different reasons why
Ashish would
these
have done,
investors
yeah.
enter. Can be technical, can be deeply fundamental, can be a 5-year, 10-year bet. Your horizon may be different from theirs.
And
So
Aeroflex as a company
very
itself
interesting.
is, highly export driven. Again, metals component coming in. So that impact in terms of tariffs, impact in terms of commodity prices, a lot of things that come its way, right? So until and unless you understand that industry and the businesses that the company is dealing with, not a company to venture into overall.
Especially mid cap and small caps,
Yeah.
please do your research. Look at the numbers on a quarterly basis, yearly basis. Look at analyst transcripts before you take any decision with respect to investment. Shakti Pumps, you have something?
Not really, because right now also if you talk about infrastructure and all of that, I mean,
Agri sector or agri
Is
allied
not-
sectors have become
is
little muted
mute.
now in the
They're
last.
not doing much right now.
Yeah. So then you have UNK 213 Mazagon ship intraday पे
3100.
3100 से नीचे आ सकता है क्या, ऐसे ही पूछ रहे हैं ना यार. We don't do intraday calls or we don't do buy sell. We can talk about the fundamentals of it. Last week we saw all the different stocks rallying, including Mazagon, Garden Reach, all rallying because of firstly they have corrected a bit from the tops. Secondly, there is some rebuying which is happening with respect to some of the funds which may have exited at the top today. But from a fundamental point of view, all these companies have order books of 3 to 5 years with them. They are good marquee PSU companies with good order books or flow of order books expected in the next couple of quarters and years, which is there. So from a fundamental point of view, yes, these are marquee companies, and valuation point of view, you can say that they are still not cheap. They're cheap compared to what they were maybe at their highs, but not cheap at the, if you look at relatively. But still, if there is a certainty of revenue coming in for the next 3 to 5 years, it gives you a good visibility on the earnings and revenues of the company, which is there. Dodla share is falling. Shrikar Reddy is saying, I googled but didn't find any news.
Doodh ka bhav.
Doodh ka bhav.
Okay, there's a two-way thing. Even if it's a doodh ka bhav, the prices have gone up.
But that
it
happened in
gets
May,
passed,
ना?
Yeah. So correct.
April end या May में हुआ ना वो?
अभी हुआ.
दो
So I
रुपए जो
think
बढ़ा है. Amul and Mother Dairy both
yes,
have increased
yes.
prices.
And all of them, Parag Meat Foods, all of them
Everything.
have gone ahead and increased
So there is
prices
a
by
margin pressure which is coming to
coming
them.
in. But I think to my read over here is that 2 rupees per litre is not going to be enough to stall this margin pressure, because I think procurements were up around 4 to 5% if for the milk companies. So that versus a 2 rupees hike coming in for a consumer will not do the trick. So, and I think Dodla has started falling in the last 2 days only from the day the 2 rupees hike has been announced. So either the street is not happy with only 2 rupees, and that will continue to put pressure
but they're
on
also
margins.
putting a lot of emphasis on non-milk
value-added
segment, value-added products, right? Because like the curd and everything.
Usually when the prices start going up, your value-added products always as a basket starts working for them. However, the other concern is, I don't know if it's a trend which I have noticed or not. In peak summers, the demand for your milk-based products goes down. Because they get spoiled very quickly. So that's one of the things that I have noticed over the last couple of years.
But dahi और लस्सी का टेस्टी?
नहीं, मैं वही बोलूँ. Dahi lassi, yes. नहीं, dahi and lassi is okay, but your pure milk or your paneer, those kind of products, the shelf life, whatever the normal shelf life is, it'll go down a little more quicker.
Yes.
So your demands, I mean, that's a trend I've noticed over the
That's
last
a
couple of
housewife
years.
speaking, actually.
That, the sales is slightly in terms
that
of...
makes sense, logically.
So, I think
you're talking from a kitchen experience.
Probably,
that works, actually.
and this probably also tells me to tell our FMCG analyst to deep dive and see now what happens in this quarter during the summer.
But one more thing is, we've done a deep dive KYC on or know your company on Dodla Dairy. Maybe you want to go and
maybe you can
so
drop
maybe
that link here
in the
middle.
well.
Shrinik Shah is asking about VBL, I think Varun Beverages, right? The numbers were not bad actually, right?
So numbers were not bad.
Commentary was also not bad.
Not
Frankly,
bad.
Well, given the kind of competition, which we were talking about from Coke and Campa Cola from Reliance, they had good volumes. It didn't reflect in the volumes for them actually.
No, so it didn't reflect. I think what.
And I'm talking domestic, not the international one.
International is fabulous.
Fabulous.
That is doing very well.
That's the one
Africa
which is picking up.
Yeah, and domestic was also a surprise. It was a surprise for street.
So what's happening with them is, somewhere you can't compare. Your other players have taken a price hike, which obviously your Varun Beverages is not able to take for obvious reasons, right? Now, for Campa, with the price hike, size is going down. So instead of selling 250 ml, they'll sell you 220 ml. Or instead of a 220 to 250
But by the way,
so that automatically is adjusting a lot in terms of their margins.
I was testing out Metro and I was trying to look at Campa small bottle, which is a 200 ml. It's not available in the market at all.
Is that a distribution problem? Is that
No.
a demand problem?
It's Reliance only giving it to Metro. Reliance का ही तो है Metro. Simple as that. The point is, it's a demand problem. It's got stock out हो गया है पूरा. And I think the new bottles which are going to come in will be different kind of thing. So for last 2 weeks, it's not available. That's what I was told. I mean, at least store people said ki it's you can only see the Coke small bottles and others, but not Campa.
Definitely, it can't be a demand problem.
So it must be a calibration of.
It's a calibration problem. And अगर Metro Reliance का ही है, तो वो वही बोलने वाला है सजीत.
हाँ, वही बोलने वाला है ना. Simple as.
Maybe.
विठल लंकेश नहीं
But just beverage
if Campa
companies.
but if Campa is really wanting to push and grow market share, and currently the market share is maybe 3% or something, if I had last
And
last I
yeah.
recall reading, then I mean, supply should not be a reason for them to not.
So logically, supply
care.
can't be a reason for them.
So
There is
I'm just
something
thinking,
else
yeah,
in
has to be
terms of
something.
the recalibration that could be happening. So that could be
Like-
one of the aspects
like-
that you need to consider. But the other aspect is how much is Campa selling also. Because if you have to see the segment they are selling in, there are a lot of regional players.
Yes.
You think of a Lahori which is coming in. And Lahori,
But you get at the same price? No, Lahori is expensive, yeah.
No, Lahori is not expensive. They have smaller bottles also. They have 10 rupee products also.
But Campa is less than 10 rupees.
No.
Yeah. Less than 10 rupees for 200
I
ml.
thought 10 रुपए का था.
नहीं उससे भी कम है. That's the whole issue. Campa.
So then Metro is not the place for Campa to sell then.
Metro is a wholesale
No,
thing,
but
na?
no. The target audience, even if it's wholesale. So, to be very honest, the reason I'm giving you this input is because my husband is into the beverage business. And taking cues from him, your small bottles which sell are the ones who are supposed to go to your wholesalers who don't store in any of these departmental stores. It has to be sold on the street. And that's what sells.
Maybe
so
Darshan
either
is the reason. Why BBL is it?
Yeah. Could
Darshan
be.
is the reason.
Acha, let's get a couple of questions. Quick ones. Vital is asking on Star Health is a market leader with good market share. Why it is giving bad results?
Precisely, that's why, because it's the market leader, and therefore it doesn't provide, at least that's what a
Star
lot
Health.
of insurance distributors seem to be suggesting, that the service quality that a Star Health is providing has gone down. The numbers in terms of profitability aren't coming through, and that's why you're seeing disappointment with regard to returns on the street. But in terms of the way the stock has re-rated, I think it's down maybe 30% over the last year or so. If I just recall right, on the basis of market cap, last year I had seen it at 30,000 crore. It's roughly 22,000 crore right now. So purely based on that, I believe a very small turnaround could well put this stock in the value category, because 34% market share in retail, if it can hold on to that market share well, and it can service customers well, and you see a turnaround with regard to profitability, those 2-3 factors, if they play out, you could well see a re-rating. Mind you, one of those companies where Rakesh Jhunjhunwala has invested pre-IPO, just putting it out there. It can be for various reasons that he's invested again, but it's a vindication.
Wasn't
on
he one
how
of the promoters?
he saw the business.
Promoters as well? मतलब, largest
Just
shareholder.
pre-IPO में participate किया था, if I recall right. Pre-IPO में, I don't have my internet right now, so I can't check. But pre-IPO में, if I recall right, he had participated. So, after the kind of correction it's seen, might well be on your radar because of the way in which it's performing. But these 2-3 metrics not working for it. It's losing market share on a very high base that it has. Second, pricing and claims is an issue at this point, and service is an issue at this point.
Vimal Vashne has a question for you. Are NBFC set to gain more than banks as they don't have to worry about deposits? Banks are likely to struggle and compete for deposits when people are moving away from FDs.
Not anymore. I think now the deposit war will slowly fade. I mean, it's again very opinionated, and you know, you could have an alternate argument very, very easily. But the point is, I believe that the liquidity push that the RBI is doing, and Sajeet sir, you can also fill it. You have, and Hiral, you can also please. With the kind of liquidity push that the RBI is doing, it's likely that deposit war will start to reduce to a certain extent. You're already seeing deposit rates fall, which somewhere is signaling to me, while the numbers are not through at all, but somewhere signaling to me that banks also are starting to see this as the deposit war going away to a certain extent. And therefore you might well see a bit of a turnaround even with regard to that. Or it could just be banks wanting to focus more on profitability. But at least at this point it's difficult to call. Sense is that deposit, in general, the deposit pressure that we've seen over the last 3-4 quarters is going to slowly go away because 5 lakh crore of liquidity gets released in the system, which is huge.
And I think the RBI is not looking at the cost of liquidity, is looking at having absolute number in the
Numbers.
Correct.
in that.
They are only saying, we will provide the banking system what it wants.
Yeah.
And
Will that
and
help
only
you-
then will that have a knock-on effect on,
Your
on
interest
loan
rates.
rates,
Yeah.
on loan rates, and only then will it have a knock-on effect on the economy, which is what the RBI is essentially trying to do. So my sense
So basically,
is that war needs to
basically
end.
your EMI has to will come down further.
Come
Means
down.
the rates on the EMI will come
Only
down.
then will you want to consume more, and that's the objective of the RBI right now. And they can only and only do that if the deposit war ends. If the deposit war remains, they can't do that. Sorry to say, it's difficult for them to do that.
Okay, there's one more question on AFCON construction by Bhaskar Ranveerkar. Bhaskar, AFCON is a good infra company from that point of view. I don't think it's outperformed much, right? AFCON there, and
Yeah,
and their IPO was also decent in that sense. But it's one of the marquee infra companies looking at very complex infrastructure projects going forward, and it has a good order book as well. If I'm
Yeah,
not
I
wrong.
think, in fact, if I'm not mistaken, their FY25 order book target was around 45 to 50,000 crores. Whether they've achieved that or not, I'm not very sure. But 45-50,000.
Yeah, the PAT has been growing at 29% CAGR, for last couple of years. I think last
Can
10
you
years.
just see what the stock is doing today? There was some huge
block deal?
anchor lock-in which was supposed to expire.
Yeah, so
On
that could be
AFCON.
so that could be one of the reasons why it may be little there in that
उसका
sense.
listing भी पूरा काफी tepid था.
हाँ,
I think single digits में list
हाँ,
हुआ
वो
था
तो-
पूरा.
So down 0.41%.
No, so not that bad. I don't think anyone majorly seems to be selling. मेरा
Yeah.
खुल ही नहीं रहा है.
ठीक है, so that's one thing, and finally there are a couple more questions which are coming, and but we are running out of time. There's question on Praj. There is please share your views on Waaree Energy holding from its IPO. Waaree Energy, if you're holding from IPO, you must be sitting on double the amount. Double
right now.
double-
In fact,
Please
has
come on
Neeraj-
this forum and talk
yeah,
to
yeah,
us.
but has Neeraj done the interview
Yeah,
with
yeah,
Waaree
yeah,
Energies
yeah.
today? So I think 1:30 is when you will be able to watch the entire walk the talk with Hitesh Doshi.
Yeah.
And Neeraj has spoken to him at the plant at Vapi, so that will be a good insight for you to take as well.
One stock we haven't spoken is Eternal, Zomato.
That's a big miss that we've made, I think, right now.
Yeah,
Very
yeah, it's a
quickly.
big one.
Yeah,
But,
but just to give an idea, numbers were disappointing from a point of view of that profit losses were expected, and so it came in at that. There is a couple of things that I just leave you with the highlights of it. They're talking about that they're going to look at market share and not profitability in the near term. They've added 294 stores and they're expecting to close 2,000 by the end of the year and then again increase it further. That is something which they will come to give us a detail only by December. But the point is that competition is increasing in that. Quick commerce, I was
Quick and Zomato every day they're shutting down.
Yes.
They've said because they've clearly said that will not lead them
Zomato
to the
Quick
path
they are
to
shutting down, but quick commerce what
profitability.
you know,
Yeah,
if you-
correct. Quick and that's what I'm saying. Yeah.
So quick commerce discounts have gone up to 22%, which was 17% a year back.
We have been talking about
the
heating
discount.
But
competition. in
Sajeet,
that
your
space.
Blinkit losses have narrowed, which is again because I'll tell you.
Yeah.
See what has happened with Zomato.
I don't
is
think
taking
narrowed,
the
it's
numbers-
increased.
No, the numbers have been bad, but I mean, we did give it a thumbs down in the morning. The stock was very interesting because we opened with cuts of some 3-4%, and immediately the stock recovered.
6-7%
So
recovery
yeah,
from the low.
so what I'm trying to say over here is there is something that the street started to read with forward-looking views, right? So one is when they've clearly come out and said that their Quick and Zomato everyday services will be shut down. This was launched, I think, some 4 months ago. And the reason they mentioned is that they're not seeing a path to profitability on that one. Secondly, if you talk about the Blinkit losses, I think they have narrowed. that probably is giving that little bit of a boost to the investors.
But commentary was terrible.
Terrible.
With regard to Blinkit.
The commentary was that we are not looking at profitability. We are looking at market share in the
Yeah.
near to medium term, which basically means that whatever they added stores in the last 2 quarters, 40% of those stores are underutilized as of now.
Yes.
So if they are going to the peak stores are going to happen in the next 2 quarters, you're going to have a lot of losses which will come
But
in.
your operating losses will narrow to an extent. Your margin, the loss, your operating.
So the question is that there are terms which the investors should look at. Adjusted EBITDA. What does it mean actually? If you look at the EBITDA has been worse.
Yeah, but then Sajeet, I think what
The EBITDA margins have fallen.
over here is the path to profitability
Is not certain.
is not certain, but it will be way ahead of time than what the street was estimating couple of quarters ago.
That's 1 or 2 people are talking about it, but at the same time, if you look at the transcript, they are saying something else. They're talking about 10 minutes delivery is not feasible.
Even the inventory-led model, Sajeet, the moment that comes in, that will be margin accretive.
No, they're going to say, they're saying that 5% of the net order value is what the working capital requirement is. So as of now, for 22,000, they have 5,000 odd crores of working capital. 1,000 crores of working capital. That will double up when they double, because they're growing at 130, 140% a year. Yeah. So they double up, in that sense. So all those, if you bring in all those things into play, and the fact that you have the Zeptos, you have the Instamart, and now you have Amazon coming in, Flipkart Minutes, which is coming in.
Big basket.
Big basket, which is the original Myntra, Nykaa, all those things, which is going to be.
But,
so it's going to be interesting.
But it's interesting vibe to me right now is because in spite of all these negatives, the kind of resilience that the stock is showing today, that somewhere is telling you that there is faith.
there is faith, but 300 से जाके correct भी तो हुआ है.
नहीं, 364 पे QIP था. अभी कितने में? 232.
Agreed, but
235 rupees पे है. Simple सी बात है.
See, when things go down, it's only faith that helps, right?
So you're holding by the faith. Simple. And the discounts. So we end this.
But all of that being said, I know. Sajeet was super pessimistic.
No, I'm not pessimistic. I'm being
somewhat optimistic.
But then he's made me a pessimist, and now I'm talking about faith.
But one thing is still true, sir. That the fact that Blinkit still is the largest player in the market.
True.
Correct.
Agreed.
So
totally agreed.
And it seems like the strategy that they're adopting.
That's why what we said last week or last week, that we see 1 year down the line, there will be a consolidation happening in this space, and whoever gets the market share and the cash flows from there will survive. Simple as that. So we have 4 or 5 players as of now. उसमें से
पर ये तो survivor है ही, likely.
Survivor तो हमने बहुत लोगों को बोला है, और हम we have to eat our words. Simple as that. Let's see how much it is. See, the point is that you came to these companies are coming to an IPO saying that we are into food delivery business, so you get a valuation of that. Once you come into that food delivery business, then the next race which is happening is on a quick commerce business.
Yes.
Now the quick commerce is now becoming a fast commerce basically, right? From 10 minutes it became to 20 to 30 minutes one, which is there. Now, when it becomes a fast commerce business and your SKUs are changing from grocery to non-grocery and general merchandise, you are trying to venture into the e-commerce place, where e-commerce में आप जो order करते हो एक दिन में, वो भी आज fast commerce में आधे घंटे में आ सकता है आज के लिए. So then you are trying to expand too quickly, too fast, which is there, and that requires a lot of. So that's I think.
And that's the alarm to tell you
that we are running out of time.
Completely out of time, in fact. So what we're going to do is we're going to leave it at that note.
Yes.
Thank you so much
And let's
for joining us.
Yeah.
And
we have a question on NHPC. We'll take it up tomorrow or on Monday.
On Monday.
Yeah. So thank you guys. Thank you Hiral. Thank you Sajeet sir for all of the perspectives.
Yes.
बोल देना चाहिए एक बार कि भाई 12 बजे करेंगे रोज.
I think, don't you think it gets easier at
I
12?
think it gets easier.
At
Yeah.
12:30 is a crunch.
भागम-दौड़ी हो जाता है।
लंच के लिए
हाँ,
भागो,
बहुत,
शो
हाँ।
के लिए भागो, इधर भागो, ये भेजो, वो भेजो. This becomes mid and it just gives you a little bit of a time and और ये extend भी होता है ना तो भी
Already
मगज
12:52 है पर
तो भी
फटी नहीं है।